Galactic Grandmother, Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special returning guest today is Thunderbeat Deborah. We did one other episode, and I will include it on the bottom, which gives Deborah's spiritual journey to where she is now. She's just got back from a very special trip. So I thank you so much. I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, well, I just got back from Egypt. I was there for about 2 weeks, and then I went to Jordan to Petra, which has been on my bucket list for over 10 years. But I've been to Egypt. This is my third time going to Egypt, and it is a very magical place. I mean, the energies are still there in the temples and the pyramids. They're still activated. Let's talk about the pyramid first. The Great Pyramid is, I'm going to tell you, they're all energy sources and they all have their certain purposes. In the King's Chamber is a healing ascension chamber. Okay.
Wow.
And like I said, they use for certain energies connecting with the higher planets and the higher solar system and the stars. So, and everybody knows now that they're lined up with Orion's belt. So, what I'm going to say is, I know it's going to blow people's minds, but I have activated the pyramid.
Uh-huh.
Okay. With sound. It uses sound to activate. And when I first went there in 1997, my spirit guides told me, bring your drum, because I'm a drummer, to activate the pyramid. It's been dormant for eons. So I was with a group that time, and I went in there, we did ceremony, and they went downstairs, and I stayed in the King's Chamber by myself. And I played my drum. And they said they could hear it through the whole pyramid. And I had one single doumbek, it's called, which is an Egyptian Middle Eastern drum, and I was like, boom, So they said that it worked, and then now when I went in here last time, I used my tuning forks with my group that I brought. I was going to use the third eye activational key. Since I'm a
Mhm.
musician, I know the keys for each chakra. So, and my spirit guides, thank God I have great spirit guides. I love them. They always say, use the keys for heaven and earth. And I said, okay, I know what they are. So I used them and had everybody tone that key. And all of a sudden, it sounded like Tibetan monks were chanting with us, like a dozen of them. Everybody could hear it. And there's always a temple guard there, which is dressed in like in a robe. They just watch, make sure everything's okay. And they're beautiful, loving people.
Mhm.
And I said to him, I said, did you guys put speakers in here? Because I'm thinking, I'm trying to find out where the sound is coming from. And it was loud. And he said, no, no, you did it. You activated the pyramid. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like incredible. And I had everybody tone those tones, and that's when it activated the pyramid through sound. And it was just a vibration. And like I said, it sounded like a dozen Tibetan monks chanting with us. That low, boo, I can't even do it. It's so low. And we were, and I just said, oh my God, that just blew my mind. I was just so wowed. And so it's definitely a healing ascension chamber. People always think that bigger is better. Well, this is not true. The middle pyramid is a stargate. Definitely more so than the large pyramid, what I've experienced, I'm going to say. I went in there toning with a girl. We went by horseback, and I said, we're just going to go in there and tone. And we had our horseback guide bringing us there. And he said, it's getting late because we got there late. And he goes, don't be there too long. I said, oh, we'll be in there like 10, 15 minutes. Because we only went to the Queen's Chamber. It was just, which is the middle of the pyramid. So we went in there and we toned, and all of a sudden, this high voice starts singing with us because there's only two of us in there. And there was a third voice,
Oh,
and
wow.
I said to her, is that you singing? She goes, no, I thought it was you singing. I said, no. And then all of a sudden, I had my eyes closed, and this Japanese group comes in. They tap me on the shoulder, and they were moving like when you fast forward a film, like really fast. The whole group was moving that fast. And I'm just saying, they wanted to take a picture. And I said, sure. And oh my God, that was weird. And then we were still toning and we were in there maybe 10, 15 minutes at the most. So we leave and the guide with the horses starts yelling at us. He goes, you said you're going to be in there for 15 minutes at the most. I said, why? He goes, you've been in there an hour and a half. I'm like, what? And me and the girl looked at each other and said, no way. We were not in there that long. We were in and out. And I put the two and two together, go, we definitely went into a different time
Oh,
zone or dimension, whatever you want to
right.
call it. And the clue was that group that came in that was going really fast. So we
Hmm.
must have slowed down into a whole different dimension. And then that other being, female being, came in and was singing with us.
And I remember you had said you had activated it prior. So you
Yeah.
activated it again.
Yes. And I haven't been in the little pyramid that a lot of times it's closed, but in Saqqara they opened up that pyramid and that place is huge. I had no idea. And I totally picked up that was older than the Great Pyramids. And I asked the Egyptologist, he just said really didn't know, but he said he goes, I don't think so, but I can tune in. So I mean, they had so many tombs there, and they had the Seraphim, like I think it's called tombs at Saqqara that they opened up that I've never been in. The black sarcophaguses, which are 30 tons. I'm like, they said they're 30 tons. I'm like, come on. And they said they opened them and they found nothing, which I don't believe. I really don't believe that. My spirit guide said those are from Atlantis. Those are from Atlantis. The black, anything they said black there is from Atlantis because the ancient Atlantean colors are red, white, and black. Red, white, and black. So, and I told that to the Egyptologists because they only tell them so much and they're trained not to say certain things too. They know information they're not allowed to say. But he told me, he goes, red, white, and black, that is color of the Egyptian flag. I said,
Oh,
yeah, I know. So in the ancient scriptures, Thoth, the god of wisdom, when he knew Atlantis was going to fall, he brought them there to Egypt for a safe place because this is what they don't know. The pyramids were already built. Those pyramids were built in Atlantis times, not by what they call the Bedouins, or there was no slaves either, by the way. That's another, I'm writing a book all about that, the Egyptian version of the Exodus, and that's all a lie. And they actually banned the last 10 commandments from Egypt because they said it's all lies. That's all lies. So I did my research while I was there. I had a few days off. That's what I wanted to do and find out some ancient stories, and I got them. So I'm working on
oh,
that book right now.
awesome.
Yeah, put some Egypt pictures up if you like. So
Okay.
that first one there is actually from the balcony of where I stayed at the hotel. They have these really expensive hotels that you can see the pyramids from a distance, but
Uh-huh.
I said, no, I don't care about the fancy schmancy. I want to be right there. And I was right by the pyramids and the Sphinx. This is the Great Pyramid right here. Right here is a tomb they found underneath the pyramid. There is so much going on. All this is all ancient ruins they have never excavated yet.
Oh my gosh.
It's miles and miles and miles in that area. And no, not just that area, everywhere. In front of the temples, there's so many things. You can see from above that there's so many piles of things that you can see there's something under there.
Right, right down here.
That Sphinx, that's Sunset. That Sphinx, we got to go in. It's private time. You can only touch the Sphinx if you get paid for private time. So we did. This is the first time I got to walk around the whole Sphinx. And there is a couple of doorways in the Sphinx, not just one. And I should have sent you a picture of that, but it's just like a little square you can see inside, and it's sunlight in there. And I don't know how it gets sunlight in there, but we did a meditation between the paws, and I just felt this beautiful, heart loving energy coming from the pyramid. It was just so beautiful. And this, I'm going to say, these are new. This is all reconstruction because it's so old, it's falling apart. Because when I was there in 1997, there was no one allowed to go into the Sphinx. The plaque in the middle of the pause, that is the story about Tutmosis IV that found the Sphinx. It was buried up to his neck in sand, and the spirit guides came to him, or the voice came to him and said, if you uncover the Sphinx, we will make you Pharaoh. And he did. He uncovered it and he became Pharaoh. He wasn't in line to be Pharaoh, and something happened that he became Pharaoh. So that's the ancient stories in the hieroglyphs. I'm very psychic, and when I touch the walls or just tune into the places, I get more downloads than anything. And that's where it's more fun for me to walk around by myself. How I know a lot of this information is because this is Hatshepsut's temple. And when I first got there, I walked in there, I didn't know who Queen Hatshepsut was. Okay.
Mhm.
And I looked all around and I'm looking for any of these temples that I recognize. So this is after about 5 or 6 temples and I was in. And then I walked through this and I said, oh, over here, we used to teach the children. Over here is the living quarters. Over here, we used to do ceremony. And then the Egyptologist said, well, this is Queen Hatshepsut's temple. I said, well, I know I'm not her. I said, I'm probably her sister or something like that, I said. And I said that just casually to myself. I didn't say that to him. And 5 years later, I get a Akashic Records reading. And I didn't tell her anything. And she goes, did you know you were a sister of a queen, Queen Hatshepsut? And you used to teach the children in the courtyard. And I was a high priestess. And
Oh
she
my
said that
gosh.
one of the children, this is what blew me away. And this is why I'm writing the story of the Exodus, because she goes, one of the children was Moses. So it was Queen Hatshepsut, and they don't know this in Egypt. They're still trying to figure out who was the princess. It was before she was a queen that found Moses in the river. It was her. So they showed me there was 2 moons during the Atlantean time, and towards the end, everybody talks about the end times of Atlantis. Well, there is beautiful for thousands and thousands of
Right.
years. It's just
Right.
beautiful, 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 peaceful, loving.
Mhm.
We could travel anywhere we wanted. We could travel all over. I found what in Santorini at Crete, the temples they found 30 feet down, they buried and they go, oh, these are Minoans, they call them, which there's some name they made up. I'm gonna tell you. The colors of the temple is red, white, and black. Just along
Oh, yeah.
Atlantis, and it's right near Egypt. But they had 2 moons, and then okay, towards the end, it got dark, where the dark forces came in and started using the one moon. It was a smaller moon, and it was a crystal moon, and we used it for maneuvering energy through the pyramids with the pyramids to give us energy and light. So, well, they started using it as a weapon. And it then, a long story short, the moon started to wobble. So everybody started complaining, saying, stop, stop, stop. But they didn't listen. That's when the crystal moon fell into the waters of the islands of Atlantis and gave major flood. And the scientists now think, oh, yeah, this meteor came out of somewhere and just hit. And they have this huge meteor crater thing in the Yucatan, which is parts of Atlantis, and they think it was a meteor. No, it was another moon that they had. And it was a crystal moon. It was smaller than our moon now. And I'm not sure if they brought another moon in to help. Something I've heard about that too.
We have a lot of history, and wouldn't it be wonderful if we could, all of those that do tap into our own Akashic records could pull it all together? That would be a
Oh,
fun round table, wouldn't it?
oh
Well,
my
I
God, that'd be a
remember
great.
this.
I would love that. Yes, I would love that. And the books, and that we'd make, the new school. Let's
That's
call it
right.
the new school,
There you
like
go.
the ancient new school,
Just so interesting, the different perspectives of people that were on Atlantis and then went to Egypt.
I wanted to tell you that another part of the Moses story was Hatshepsut found him in the river, and then she wanted a son because she needed a son for the pharaoh for the throne because there was no son. She had a daughter. Well, this is the other information I got downloaded from my Akashic records, is that she lied to our father and said it was her son.
Okay.
Interesting,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And our father was Tutmosis the first. Tutmosis means son of Thoth.
Oh,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. Moses means son. Tutmosis means son of Thoth. So that was our father, and so we trained him to be. And I knew it was a lie, and in Egypt is like so sacred about their bloodline and the pure bloodline, the pure DNA. I mean,
yeah.
very sacred. But we trained him to be a pharaoh till he was 16, and then our father found out, and that's when he. This is the part that's missing. That's when he ran into the desert because our father flipped out and he ran into the desert. That's where I'm just going to leave the story because I got more information. Yeah, this is like fun stuff.
Do you
So
want to?
she became the female king, female pharaoh. She goes, well, there's no pharaoh, so that's when she turned into the female pharaoh. She dressed as the pharaoh. Yeah,
Wowza. I
interesting, huh?
definitely need to start a new school.
Oh, I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, at 15 years old, I was a straight A student with everything but history. I was like so bad in history. I said, this is useless information.
Right.
And I said, there needs to be, better schooling. I said, at 15, I said this. This,
Wow.
this, this is, this is a lot of this is just junk, I said. And I said I called it useless information. And I said, we got to, and I even worked on it for 15, 16 years old. I was thinking, okay, we got to, how can we put in new information here? So I've always been
Oh.
into that.
You want to look at some more pictures?
Yes, yes, yes. This I just want to show. This is sunrise in the morning in the streets of Egypt that no one usually sees. So
Right,
by
right
the
there.
pyramids,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and they have no lines in the road, and there's double traffic constantly. Beep 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 beep. That is sunrise and the pyramids.
This is the one with the boulevard lined by, it looks like lions on either side.
They're actually rams with Kahum, which is the pharaoh Kahum, which is another timeline. And I think that is either Luxor or Karnak. God, we went to so many temples, I get mixed up. The Luxor to me felt like a school. That did feel like a school. I mean, all the scriptures on the walls were very different from each. Everyone was so different. It just
Mhm.
felt like a history school of some sort. So Karnak Temple is the high priest and high priestess temple. And that I felt totally recognized. And I walked in, and my spirit guide said to go into the courtyard. I said, well, there's like 8 to 10 courtyards here. So I just walked into the first one, and all of a sudden I heard Hattors singing, and they were singing, ah, ah. And I'm like, and I couldn't see them, but I could feel them, like layers and
Uh-huh.
layers of them singing. And then, you ready? A
Yeah.
pharaoh comes right in front of me. And he was like, his power was incredibly huge. Like it seemed like an
Whoa.
energy of 10 people, but he
Oh.
was tiny. He looked so tiny, but his energy was huge. And he says to me, in the court of the Crimson King. And I said, oh my God. And I did a 360. I just did a spin, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm putting the two and two together because the Crimson people, that's the Crimson race. When you look at the walls, they're painted red. The skin color tone is red. Sometimes they talk about that they're black. Well, that's the Nubians. The Nubians they came in from the south, and they were some black, but there were more. The original Crimson race was the red race, which is the Native American is the red race. There had to be a connection between the red race and the Crimson race. It's the same color.
So he was pointing out that that was a special place then.
In the court of the Crimson King.
Oh,
He was
oh, oh.
Crimson King.
Is he in the history books?
I don't know. Not that I know. There's so much lost history. My Egyptologist, I love him dearly. He even said there's probably only at the most 1% of the knowledge really known. 1%.
Whoa.
I was like, whoa. I was going to think he was going to say 10% or 20%, but no, he said 1%. He's been doing this for 25 years. So he knows, and he's learning stuff. And I told him some information, and he was going, oh my God, look, red, white, and black. And he's noticing the red, white, and black on the walls of the temple. temples. And it was cool. Like, yeah. There's Atlantis, and they talk about Atlantis, and oh God, I can't wait to write the book. I'm
Uh,
excited. So
I'm scrolling to this beautiful, amazing statue here.
yeah, that's in Luxor. That is there's so much information that I just can't remember
Right.
what pharaoh that is. There's many statues,
Huh?
each temple, so it's not just about one pharaoh. The temples, I'm going to tell you, these are so tall. I wish I had a person here to show you how tall these pillars are. They are so tall, and inside the chambers, their ceilings are so high, and there's drawings on there of things, but it's hard to see because they're so high. And the doorways are, I'm going to say, at least 20 to 5 to 30 feet tall, 8 feet wide. Okay, why? They were giants.
Right.
Because those serpentine coffins, they were 14 feet by 4.5 feet wide. Why would they make a sarcophagus that big?
Right.
And they go, oh, we didn't find anything in there.
Well,
Right. This has got to come out, this truth. I mean, they're slowly coming out, but it's
I have seen in some photographs huge black sarcophagus, and I think it was in Egypt. It was like a room full of these,
that's what I'm
so
talking
big,
about.
and they said they don't even know how they could have gotten in there.
Yes, that's the room I'm talking about that I went in this time. I'd never been in before because they had it closed. And last time I was there in 2008, they were totally closed. They opened them now, and that's the ones I'm talking about. They're 30 tons. And it's not a very big room. And I remember seeing, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, at least 6 or 7 of them. We walk down this hallway, and they're all to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and they're just in these rooms, these chambers, and they're down below. They are buried down below, but no one knows how they got them there. It's almost impossible.
Here's a beautiful, beautiful temple on the water. Is that the Nile?
Yep, that's the Nile. And that is what they call Isis Temple, but it's not the original Isis Temple. The Isis Temple was an island next to it that flooded out, and they moved the temple to this area. So it was interesting. I was doing sound healing ceremonies in the temples, and the tour guide goes to me, would you like to go to the original island? And which is right up the Nile. We go by boat because we had our own private yacht with that
Oh,
could fit like 25 people and sleep actually 30 people. I said, yes, let's go. So I did a ceremony on there, and it was really very, very watery and muddy there. I got to touch the land, and I could feel the difference. It was incredibly powerful. So we did a small little activation there because you were in mud. And I could just feel the big difference of the energy. It was the original temple of Isis Temple. Felt very honored that he even mentioned it. Aswan, which is probably about 600 miles south of the pyramid in southern Egypt.
this is so mind-blowing to see these ruins. I can't even imagine the feeling of how big they are in person.
Yeah, they're huge. I have some pictures of people next to them, and you would go, what? Oh my God, they look like little tiny ants, you know?
This was an ancient temple here, correct?
That's only part of Isis Temple. I know I should have sent more pictures, but that is like a sacred place to do ceremony. And the temple is huge. That's only a little part of it, actually. There's
Wow.
so many rooms there at this temple. I don't even know, a dozen, 15 different rooms. And you walk into them, they're empty. What would they use for? No one knows.
I want to hear about Jordan. How was that experience?
It was bigger than they show you. Anything you see on TV, they show you hardly nothing of that place. They show you maybe 3 or 4 things, and that's it. I was there all day, and we were walking, and we had a little cart that we could go on because it's miles and miles long, and I still didn't see the whole thing all day. I have hundreds and hundreds of pictures, and they've had so many civilizations that lived there. There's a lot of different chambers and buildings that they never show you. Hundreds of them. I'm going to say hundreds. And they're huge. they're huge. They're like with huge pillars and huge symbols. And I felt things were familiar to me. When I first saw pictures of it, I said, I know that. I think that was definitely ancient. And they said there was a flood there thousands of years ago. So people had to leave because it's in a valley. It's very hidden. What I got from it, they wanted to get away from mainstream society. They didn't want to be part of what was going on the planet Earth at that time, which I don't know the timelines. I definitely did pick that up. They said that, we want to be left alone, leave us alone. We were in peace, we're in love. I mean, I felt love and peace there and
Oh,
creativity. I felt a lot of creativity there.
and did you make it to the Dead Sea?
I did. I had spent 2 days at the Dead Sea, which was about 3.5 hours north of there. Our driver went the back roads and showed us, oh my God, this whole land of Jordan that was like
Wow.
amazing. But the Dead Sea, I soaked and did a mud bath in the Dead Sea at the end of my journey, and it has the most minerals in that water ever. And I just was very refreshed and rejuvenated. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
The Dead Sea is right across from, we're in Jordan, and right across from that is Israel. It was very strange. I have never mentioned this to anybody, but one morning I was there just 2 days, and the next morning I'm at the Dead Sea in the early, early morning, and I heard these like boom. I actually heard booms, and it sounded like a plane, but there was no planes, and there's no airport there. Because I asked about it. Is there an airport there? They said no. Something strange was going on there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know it wasn't Gaza war. I have to go back and have more time there. 2 days is just not enough. Definitely want to go back there.
And what was your biggest takeaway on this trip to Egypt?
Just tons of lost history. Just so much. When you first go there, you're so amazed that you
Hmm.
see just the surface. But I looked in deeper, and I just saw all these areas of unexcavated, and I'm like, oh, there's so much lost history here. So that's what I got. But the temples are still resonating with energy. Actually, I've heard singing in some of the temples, like that high female voice again, or the Hathors, because the Hathors talk about singing and dancing and celebrating.
How do you spell that? Hathors?
Yeah, Hathors. They always talk about female Hathors, but there were male Hathors too. There's male and female, and many of them, not just one. Because a lot of people that don't know, they go, "Oh, who Hathor is." There's many of them. There's not just one. It was a group.
Tell me a little bit about them.
They do healing. They use sound and sound healing. They do a lot of happiness, celebration, dance, rejoice, celebration, singing. They raise the frequencies. They're very high connected with the system, the universe. They have in Dendara Temple, they have a solar system drawing that they took down and brought it to the museum, and they put this fake thing up. I'm so sorry. I thank God I saw the original when I was there in 1997. But they talk about 12 astrology symbols. Well, they
Mhm.
have like about 30, okay? Yeah, so they teach things, and they have all these different characters on them. You could probably look it up online to see the picture of,
Yeah. What an amazing trip. When do you
yeah.
think you'll make it back there again?
My Egyptologist wants me to come back, but I got so many projects working on this year. I'm working on Sedona Cosmic Awakening in August, which you guys can get the tickets at thunderbeat.com and the events page. I got incredible speakers there. And then I'm working on my book. I'm doing two major workshops this year, which I'm certifying people to become 22 strand DNA activators workshops. And this is very powerful. It's very ancient knowledge from the Keys of Enoch and Metatron. And I'm one of the 12 people that does this in the world. And now I'm teaching, and Spirit said, okay, now it's time. So they can go on my website and look for the 22 DNA workshop if they want to sign up.
When
So I'm working on many things, and I guess I'll let you know next time I go to Egypt.
it has been such a pleasure and an honor for you to be with us here today and share your
Oh,
knowledge and your adventures. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that we can get together and have further conversations. Keep us updated.
absolutely. I will.
Thank you so much again, and we will talk soon. Love
Okay,
you,
many
Krista.
thank you. Bye, honey.
Bye.